History briefing. St John's is a historic house located in Warwick, just east of the town centre in Warwickshire, England. It is now a museum and has had a history spanning almost 900 years. To the side of the house is a small garden belonging to St John's, and to the rear is the largest St Nicholas Park. The museum is currently operated by Warwickshire Heritage and Culture's Museum Service, a branch of Warwickshire City Council. In the almost 900 years of its existence, St John's House has had a wide and variety history. Many of its uses have been related directly to helping local people, particularly in the realms of health and education, a transition which is continued today in its uses as a free museum to educate the local community on the area's history. As a hospital in the mid-12th century, during the reign of Henry II, the land on which St John's House was given to the establishment of the Hospital of St John the Baptist. The hospital was brought into being by William de-bunk, the Earl of Warwick. The history provided two purposes: to help the local poor and ill, and to provide casual overnight boarding and food to impoverished travellers, such as pilgrims. The Hospital of St John the Baptist was one of the two such hospitals in the town of Warwick at the time. The other was the Hospital of St Michael, found with the sole purpose of providing help and respite to those in the parish suffering from leprosy. Of both hospitals, only the chapel building of St Michael still stands still. In 1291's Tax Tio, the hospital was voted to own a dovecote worth 2 shillings. Additionally, the carucade of land owned by the hospital was valued at 10 shillings per year. In 1337, protection was granted to the hospital's brethren and their attorneys for the collective of alms at churches. At this time, it was suggested that some building renovation was necessary. It is known that in 1610 the site comprised 4 standing buildings, including a gatehouse topped with celebrations. The largest of the 3 of the buildings has crosses at the roof's apex, suggesting its religious use as the site's chapel. At the time, the hospital site also included a cemetery. Remains have often been dug up during refurbishment of remodelling works on the house. The first recorded case was in the 1830s, when work was being taken in the kitchen garden. In 1987, 2 workmen digging to the cotton end front of St John's Court Flats discovered 2 skulls. As a residence, during the dissolution of the monasteries at the behest of Henry VIII, St John's was granted to Anthony Stoughton for services to the king. The land was later passed to his eldest son William by inheritance. Neither of the 2 lived in the house, but they leased it out to others such as Richard Townsend, a yeoman at Warwick. Eventually, the land was inherited by the son of William Stoughton, Anthony Stoughton Jr., who built a house on the site. Of note is the fact that in the east wing of the house there is a door lintel, which bears the date 1826 and the initials AS. The house remained in the possession of the Stoughton family until the 1960s. As a school, in 1791, the building was rented out for the first time by the Earl of Warwick for public use, with the intent of converting it into a school. The school, then known as St John's Academy, was founded by William T. Fowler and was set up as a school for young gentlemen. As advertised on the handbill throughout the life of the school, its cohorts changed frequently. In 1828, the daughters of William Fowler, then running the school, changed it to a school for girls. It was then reverted in 1845 under Mr. Townsend. Then it returned to a girls' school in 1884, which continued until the very end of the 19th century. In the later part of the school's life, as money became tighter, the school restricted itself to the lower part of the house, with upper rooms being leased out to the local artists and other public figures, with other studios being opened for public viewing. The school was declared bankrupt in 1900 and closed down. Our conclusion of our visit at St John's. This definitely is an interesting building. One of my team members actually had to leave the building. As we entered the loft area, things started to change a little differently to the feeling of being so hot. It was unbelievable, which was the first I'd experienced. It usually gets cold, not hot. It wasn't before long that the guide who works in the building and knows the history had explained that a lady had died in the building due to her dress catching fire as she went to change logs on the open fire, which was often as an occurrence in those days due to ladies wearing long dresses and having open log fires. It came with a lot of danger of catching fire. In today's day, health and safety would not allow this. This definitely explains why that came into action. It's totally dangerous. It shows we have totally revolved since then, for the better basically. On a medium level, I picked up on a lady. I felt her emotions. She died in a fire and I could feel the heat from what she had been burnt with. As we was in a protection circle, one of my team members had to leave the building due to feeling that hot, to the stage where he was dripping. Sweat was literally dripping off him. I'm telling you, I witnessed that myself. He had to leave the building and later joined us in the cellar, where the guests joined in a Ouija board session. We could hear taps, bangs, and we was in the protection circle. It actually felt like a presence was behind us. You could feel it in the back of you. And my hand and another guest's hand lifted up in the air above our heads, then straight back down behind us, like it was trying to pull us backwards. As I shouted, "Do not let him break the chain." That was strange. You could actually feel the force of this guy, and I knew that I couldn't break the circle. So that was completely amazing, guys. Well, that's it for St John's visit. Stay tuned next, where we will be visiting 30 East Drive. Thanks, guys. Bye.